Continuing chapter 4 of part 4. The Romans held the land of Abraham. The Jews who were plotting revolts and stirring up insurrections were losing everything. They were mixing all domestic enjoyment. They were failing to improve their lands and their houses, and to promote the growth of true religion among their children, so that while they dwelt in the land, it was as prisoners. All they loved was going to decay before their eyes. They were afflicted with a mania which has not died out from among men, but every now and then in modern times breaks forth, a feverish feeling that everything depends upon the political condition of a people. Proud, violent men inflame the people with this idea. Proud, violent men believe that happiness is in high position and fame, in being in a condition to lord it over their fellows. It is all a mistake. Well, I don't know if everything's all a mistake, but a man who has a quiet, good soul can be just as good and great, can live as happily and die as nobly in Russia as in France as in England as in America, emperor, king, president. It makes so little difference that it is not worth one human life to change it. An ambitious, selfish, ill-tempered, weak man will be unhappy anywhere. A meek man is not a weak man, but one who has the strength to hold himself in, as one by a strong bridle holds a strong and fiery horse. He will be happy anywhere. Well, doesn't mean that oppression and aggression can't arise in some of these places, right? But it's not the type of government that determines that. He will inherit the earth. He will be in the enjoyable possession of the earth, for that is the meaning of the words. This is a general truth. Conquerors overrun a land, but they do not enjoy it. The king is often overburdened with the load of stateship and rides in magnificent weariness over immense domains from which he can draw no increase of delight, while down those valleys and on those hill slopes in 1,000 cottages are multitudes of men and women and little children who really inherit by enjoying all the earth can yield of physical delight, and in those cloisters are many students who inherit by enjoying all the intellectual delights which a study of the earth can give. If these people whom Jesus addressed were expecting that in the reign of the Messiah they should have material riches, worldly pleasures, and the indulgence of the pride of power, and if they supposed Jesus to be the Messiah, they were to be disappointed. He was no revolutionist. He was no political preacher. He had a deeper, loftier mission. He had not come to fire the Jewish heart, but to purify the spiritual life of the world. So throughout this discourse, he describes all excellence as consisting in character, and all the real happiness as having its fountains in the soul. Well, the lost of the tribes of Israel, right? Wasn't that his mission? To inflame their hearts towards doing what needs to be done, doing what is best to be done. Isn't that what the Bible actually says in this thing? See, this is why we have no quotes in this part. There is not a single beatitude which has its basis in external things. Jesus thus plainly instructs them in the beginning that they are not to regard him as being about to add himself to the number of those conquerors who divide the acquired territory among their followers, which that's actually part of what defines things as pagan, is the They conquer and then they divide into farming plots. They may have been expecting that he should subdue the world and give it to the Jewish people. He had no such intent. Those that looked for such things need not be followers of Jesus. There was no happiness in all this worldly, exorbitant, insatiable heat. The kingdom he should set up would be in the hearts of men. And so, whenever occasion served, Jesus restored to their spiritual meaning phrases and passages of the Holy Scriptures, which the Jews had lowered to a most secular significance. Happy are they who hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Okay. Signification. And then he intensified and still more highly spiritualized those passages. Almost every phrase he uses must have recalled some well-known expression in the prophets, or the Psalms, or the law. Well, Nebiim, Ketubim in general, not just the Psalms and the law. Torah, Thus he describes the happy man as one who hungers and thirsts after righteousness. And east thirst implied the most intense desire and was the most vivid representation of longing to a people who dwelt in lands where there was a scarcity of water, while they typically dwelt around the oases and streams, or they went between them and stuff. But this unspeakable desire to be upright, right towards God and man, right inwardly, whether the life should be able to be brought to the highest standard or not, this marks a true man. Hunger seeks to eat, and thirst to drink. It must be an inward satisfaction. The man may be up to his lips in water and in food, and all things outwards fail to satisfy him. The words of Jesus must have reminded his hearers of David's simile of the heart panting after the water brooks, Psalm 92:1, and the outcry of invitation in Isaiah 55:1, Ho, everyone that thirsteth, come ye to the waters. Perhaps it will be recalled also that remarkable passage in the Psalms, I shall appear in righteousness before thy face. I shall be satisfied when thy glory appears. This translation I give from the Septuagint version, where it occurs in Psalm 16:15. In our common English version, it is 17:15. And yeah, the English version has different numberings, but that's because the Latin version has different numberings, isn't it? It is to be observed that the promise made is of the inward and not of the outward. Longings for righteousness are to be satisfied by righteousness. The reward of loving is the increased power of being righteous. All such people shall be filled. Having given these blows to secular hopes by stating 3 of the characteristics of those who are really happy and blessed, such as he should desire to have for his subjects if he is to be king of men in any sense, he immediately states 3 other characteristics, and it is to be noticed that the first 3 are such as a man will be conscious of in his own soul, while they may be wholly unknown to others, while at least 2 of the next 3 open into the visible life. The hidden growth of grace now begins to bring forth fruit. The man who has felt and mourned his poverty of spirit, who has become self-continent and meek, whose heart has been athirst for righteousness, is not selfish, but goes out in love and pity to his fellow men. The subjects of a spiritual kingdom, which is to consist in the paramount influences of love, are to be merciful. Conquering warriors were not ordinarily merciful, but had what others thought to be the sweets of hating. The conquered were not merciful, but had the sweets of revenge, and neither were happy. The happy man is he who seeks to make others happy, whether they be good and grateful or bad and thankless. The next characteristic of the happy is that they are pure in heart. Heartily pure, loving purity, and seeking to have it inwardly. The logical connection